restaurant businesses and food businesses are very tenuous. They don't have a lot of cash reserves, and they go from week to week. And that's the fact of the matter. I've been in the business my whole life.
Restaurants in the U.S. are reeling from social distancing measures aimed to slow the spread of the coronavirus pandemic. The industry employs more than 15 million people in the United States, and many of them have either already lost their jobs or are worried about losing their jobs. Restaurants, large and small, are doing the best they can to navigate the economic shock brought on by the pandemic containment initiatives.
So the COVID shutdowns are probably the biggest existential crisis that this industry has ever faced.
The National Restaurant Association estimates that between March, April, and May of 2020, sales will decline by $225 billion. But beyond just lost sales, many smaller and independently owned restaurants are focused simply on survival, and owners are worried about being forced to close their doors permanently. In March 2020, as coronavirus cases surged in the U.S., state governors began shutting down many markers of American life, including bars and restaurants.
All bars in the state and all restaurants will close at 9 o'clock.
Any bar or restaurant closes at 8 o'clock tonight.
These stay-at-home initiatives closed restaurant dining rooms essentially overnight, a worst-case scenario for many owners. 75% of all small businesses have already reported some sort of hit or interruption from the COVID-19 pandemic.
For smaller and independent restaurants, this is simply a tidal wave. We've never seen anything like this where you're seeing a nationwide shutdown targeting one particular industry that's been going on for weeks now. For smaller restaurants and the independents, they measure their cash flow in days, maybe weeks. This is not something that's sustainable for them anytime soon.
Jen Withrow was working for a year and a half at Common Market in Charlotte, North Carolina, a specialty market that included a deli and a full bar, when she got an email from her bosses. Governor Roy Cooper had ordered the store to close. It could only offer takeout and delivery options. And Jen had been laid off, along with 5 of her 8 coworkers.
Well, we're considered a grocer, so we are considered essential as a business. I didn't think that my job was going to be at stake.
Jen's story isn't the only one. According to the National Restaurant Association, more than 3 million industry employees have already lost their jobs. Peter Sherman is the owner of Bar Bacon, a restaurant and bar with 2 locations in New York City. Each location has 40 employees, including cooks, bartenders, and waitstaff. Peter laid off all 80 of them on March 16th, the same day Governor Andrew Cuomo closed the city's bars and restaurants.
It was easily the lowest point of my professional career. I mean, I just spent 7 years with people that have been with me for that long too, and have trusted me, that I brought up, and then in their toughest moments and all of our toughest moments, being the guy that was exactly as bad as everybody else before me. And I couldn't shake that for anything.
And some restaurants are getting hit from another angle. The government-ordered shutdowns are part of a larger effort to enforce social distancing and limit large gatherings of people in order to tamp down on the coronavirus spread. And that sudden disappearance of large gatherings of people, it's a huge blow to restaurant owners who do a large catering business. Fred Kaskowitz owns 2 restaurants in the New York City suburbs in Connecticut, Woods End Deli and Fred's 06825. Each with deli offerings and prepared foods. Catering makes up 25% of his business, especially during the time of year when those shutdown orders came. Passover seders and Easter brunches were just around the corner.
So for like Passover and Easter, we did a big business. We had 6 seders that canceled, that we were actually going to be working, good-sized pieces of business, 50 people or more. So they all canceled. Easter, the phone is not ringing at all. Basically, we've gone to a dead stop in regards to catering. And catering is more profitable part of our business, and we need that to survive.
In March 2020, national restaurant chain The Cheesecake Factory said it wouldn't be able to pay April rent for its nearly 300 locations. Independently owned restaurants are feeling the same pain, but are uncertain about what the future may bring.
I contacted my landlord via email and let them know that I'm not paying my rent. And they've been forthright in understanding why, but they're not in a position yet, as none of us are in a position to understand what that conversation really looks like.
Despite the empty tables, restaurants were deemed essential businesses and allowed to stay open for takeout and delivery in order to serve communities. But restaurants have had a somewhat fraught relationship with delivery in recent years. Mobile delivery has exploded in popularity. Consumers spent $10.2 billion on meals through third-party delivery apps like DoorDash, Grubhub, or Uber Eats in 2018. And 38 million people used one of those mobile delivery apps in 2019. At the same time, the number of people dining inside restaurants was on a decade-long downward trajectory.
Casual dining as a whole has been in trouble long before coronavirus began to spread around the country. Traffic has been kind of a sore spot starting in 2006.
And the surge in delivery orders wasn't exactly boosting restaurants' bottom lines. Third-party delivery apps charge restaurants pricey commission fees to use the service, up to 25 or 30% in some cases. Those cut into restaurants' already thin profit margins.
So you look at most full-service restaurants, and for them, delivery has never been something that makes a lot of money, a lot of revenue for them. The food is a pretty low profit cost right there. And when you add to it the cost for working with a third-party delivery company, they really do it only to keep their brand out there and to continue serving the community.
During the coronavirus pandemic, some restaurants have shifted focus to takeout and delivery in the interest of feeding communities and to bring in at least some cash. Fred Kaskowitz had to lay off 2 of his 13 employees, so he's making delivery runs himself.
Yeah, so we're offering the curbside pickup and the delivery. I'm out every day in my car. Especially we're making ourselves available to older people who don't want to go out of the house.
Madeline Alfano, who owns a chain of Italian restaurants in Los Angeles, switched gears to delivery as well.
What we've done with our servers and our bussers and our cashiers is we've afforded them the opportunity to sign up to drive, to be delivery drivers. So that way we're trying to help all of our employees maintain their earning capacity.
And for what it's worth, during the coronavirus outbreak, some third-party apps like Grubhub and Postmates are waiving some of those commission fees. But regardless, how long can restaurants afford to just do takeout and delivery? For Peter Sherman from Bar Bacon, it wasn't sustainable at all. He temporarily closed his 2 New York City restaurants instead of keeping them open for delivery.
Having them say, okay, we have to close everything down and you can just be open for, delivery was almost laughable. Particularly for someone that's a full service restaurant with 100 seats. I can't just all of a sudden convert to grab and go, much less compete in that market.
Even when we sort of rebound from this calamity right now, the jobs aren't going to be there unless there is a major influx of capital, and not loans, because loans aren't what's needed, but influx of capital to small businesses, especially restaurants.
Money is coming. At the end of March 2020, President Trump signed a $2 trillion stimulus package meant to help soften the blow of the economic fallout from the coronavirus outbreak. The massive bill includes a $349 billion lifeline for small businesses in the shape of loans guaranteed by the Small Business Administration.
You can take out a loan for up to 8 weeks of payroll as well as overhead. You hire the people back. As long as you hire the people back, the loan is forgiven.
But it's unclear if this relief is enough to keep those independent restaurants open. And for many owners who may be able to survive the shutdown orders, there's still so much uncertainty remaining about what happens once those orders are lifted. It may not be as simple as simply unlocking their doors.
I'm sitting on almost $400,000 of debt right now just to open the door up. And let's just say a miracle happens and I get $400,000. That's per property, by the way. All right? I can open the doors. You are opening a restaurant. Anyone that knows anything about restaurants, opening a restaurant is one of the toughest things you could possibly do. And you're doing it with the staff now that is shaken. You're doing it with a customer appetite, a clientele appetite that you have no idea what you're walking into.
That may be the biggest source of anxiety for restaurant owners in the midst of this crisis. Will the customers ever come back?
The big challenge is there going to be enough demand when we're able to turn the lights on?
Restaurants in particular are incredibly capital-intensive businesses, meaning it costs a lot of money just to keep them running. And it's hard to budget for an environment where everyone is allowed to leave their homes again, because nobody knows how people will feel about being in public with a still present threat from COVID-19.
It's an unknown quantity when things are going to come back and how they're going to come back. And everybody just speculates over that. If you think it's going to be a straight shot, to me, I don't see that. Because there's still going to be a lot of backlash from this whole thing.
But then what I really am concerned about is the go-forward cost of after I open. I need to expect a certain run rate of loss as the country gets back into a rhythm and we all sort of figure out what that looks like. I mean, just because everybody wants to go out doesn't mean it'll happen. Doesn't mean it will sustain itself. Doesn't mean the entire world didn't just change.